Hi, Paul.
Good evening, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm really off. Good evening, guys. God. But I just saw you, Chris and John, yesterday.
Okay,
Yep.
Barry, we're ready as far as YouTube goes.
All right, all set. All
Yep.
right, I'll call the meeting to order. I'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll go straight into the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, anything anyone wants to discuss and or take off, or in general? Anything? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any against? All right, so will the Dutchess County BOCES spotlight is there for your reference, for your entertainment. And well, unless there's any questions on that, we'll move to the Dutchess County BOCES budget presentation.
You're muted, Dick.
What's going on here?
So before Matt gets started, it's really his show. He just lets me talk and on a few slides. But I want to thank the Millbrook Central School District for allowing us to come. And we appreciate that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Matt to take it away.
Thank you, Richard. Members of the Millbrook Board and Superintendent Mitchell, thank you very much for allowing us to present the 21-22 administrative budget tonight, which is also going to have the capital and rental portion. I always like to start with really just an overview of the BOCES financial structure. There's really three major budget categories. We have the program and services, and I think this is what you most often associate with BOCES. This is special education, our Career and Technical Institute, our alternative high school, our educational resources, just to name a few. There's the capital and rental piece, which is simply that. It's the money we collect to pay rent, which is for our alternative high school, as well as to school districts that host BOCES classes. And the annual capital piece is the amount that's collected that helps for repairs and to maintain our infrastructure. And then the administrative piece, which is the part that the schools will vote on. This includes the superintendent, the Board of Education, personnel, and the business office, as well as the retiree health insurance piece, which I'll talk about a little bit further in depth. BOCES does not have an unreserved fund balance. So at the end of the year, when we close our books down, we take the component district's share, which is the revenue. We subtract the expenditures, and whatever's remaining goes back to the school districts. We account for all our programs in these little cost centers so that we know how much each district participated in them, so that it can go back on that ratio to each district. And then finally, BOCES aid is certainly incentive for school districts that can do business with us, because they will get an aid return on that. This is really a pie chart of our total budget, including all our programs and services. And you can see that, the lower right is special ed. It amounts for about 36% of it. And then there's a couple of slivers up at the top that combined come out to about 8% of the total budget. 2.4 of that is really the things I spoke of before, the staff and the administration building. And then 5.6% of the administrative budget is really just entirely for retiree health insurance. Our challenges each year really are to come up with a cutting edge class that meets our districts, that is cost effective for the districts as well. By law, the retiree health insurance costs must be accounted for in the administrative budget. So my example for this is if you think of a special education teacher that during her career here would have the health insurance costs accounted for in that special ed COSR, and that would be supported by the tuition for the class. Upon retirement, that expense all gets moved over to the administrative budget. And as I said before, that's all by law. And then nearly 70% of the administrative budget is for retiree health insurance. This slide really represents, the administrative budget on the top is, we're coming in for 21-22 at just over 7 million. It's actually a 2.3% increase from the previous year. We continue to try and find efficiencies in the administration building, reducing staff and hiring part-time where we can. And the bottom represents the rental and the capital piece. The rental up approximately 18% from last year, almost 19%, and the capital down 75%. So, there was certainly an expectation that we would only be paying for, half a year's worth of rental for the alternative high school next year had our new building been, built on time. But with those delays, and we're, probably out another 6 months. So we realized that what we tried to do is kind of reduce your annual capital share next year to kind of alleviate that for the districts. This represents the entire Millbrook component charge for the administrative, capital, and rental billings. You can see that you're down approximately $4,400 from the previous year, or about 3%. We determine each component share based on our WADA figure. And Millbrook's is actually down 18 from the previous year, from 969 to 951. But that's by law how we, determine the denominator, and we figure out what each component share is. I would like to note as well, although our budget's down, we do have a decrease in other revenue sources this year, and I want you to think of that as really interest earnings and things like E-rate. So revenue that we would normally get that's not directly from the components. And then this slide is just a little capsule of Millbrook's participation with us last year. They had a surplus of approximately $235,000. And the BOCES aid that was generated was nearly $600,000. And this was based on, contract with BOCES for Millbrook of approximately $2.7 million. So those are some of the, I mentioned before about the BOCES aid being an incentive to do some services with us. And I'd just like to note that this doesn't include the special ed aid, which is actually high cost aid, which is entirely different than this. And at this point, I will pass it off to Richard, who can tell you about your students that are enrolled in our programs.
Thank you, Matt. So I think it's always great for boards to have a sense of who Millbrook is as a part of the BOCES programs. So currently in special and alternative education, Millbrook has about 10 students. One of those is enrolled in our Beta, our alternative high school, and that student is in an adolescent day treatment program, which is a therapeutic program that also includes typically Regents level courses. You have 2 students in SPC, which is our K-8 program. It's mostly students with IEPs, but not entirely. The 2 students that you have are in the PEACE program, which are classes on for students on the autistic spectrum. And then you have 7 students placed in district placements. These are BOCES classes taught at different school districts to create a less restrictive environment than if they were, let's say, at the center. So of those 7, 4 are at Arlington, 3 students are in the Pegasus program. It is actually on our campus, but it is in the CTI building so that those students interact with other students during the course of the school day. Then you have 15 students enrolled in our Career and Tech Institute. And I just want to break those out for you. 3 are in cosmetology, 3 are in automobile technology, 3 in agriculture production, 1 in culinary arts, 1 in introduction to health occupations, 1 in police science, 1 in small engine repair, 1 in graphic design, and 1 in welding. And that's the breakout for Millbrook. We also each year try to find ways to better serve our components. We get this information from our various meetings with different administrators in your school district, or from meetings that I have with superintendents. So these are a couple that we're going to be looking at for next year. The Career Exploration Program is an opportunity for kids. Actually, in the 10th grade, it could start. Mostly it's 11th and 12th graders, but they spend a year exploring a couple of different CTI courses. So they might rotate through 3 different CTI programs to see if there's one they like. And then maybe in their senior year, they would enroll in that particular career and tech class. It's not a huge population, but for some students, it's a really good opportunity for them to explore a little bit. Then we have 2 centers. The Center for Educational Equity and Social Justice came to us because there are school boards and schools even that have this as a focus of their goals for the year. And so we have worked with a number of partners to bring this to our districts. Part of that would be like a equity audit. And we're partnering with Ed Elements, which is a service provider like we are, and also Javon Hunter, who is a professor from the University of Buffalo, nationally ranked, and he has done a lot of work with our BOCES, and he is going to be part of this center that will serve school districts in the county. The other center on sustainability and climate education, again, came out of some school boards that have a focus on this, and school districts that have a focus. That is a larger partnership. It is a partnership with the Omega Institute, the Ashokan Center, the Teachers Center, and the Cloud Institute. And they just had, last week, I believe, a virtual conference. And they had some of the students that led the conference were the keynote speaker, and they were really quite amazing. So that has really taken off, and we expect there's going to be a lot of use from that. Next item is the E-rate Category 2 purchasing. So for years, your district and others have been able to get kind of a rebate on our use of internet and phone lines and things like that. That was E-rate. Now they have changed slightly so that you can actually get money back for purchases of hardware through the E-rate consortium. And so that's a change for us. We manage it for the whole region, and that's a big improvement for school districts when it can be applied. And then finally, we last year, through superintendents bring it to our attention, we started for this year a early college BARD program. And even in the middle of the pandemic, it has actually gone quite well, all remote. And next year, we've doubled the number of students enrolled. So I think we have 31 for next year. And this is a program where in a good year, kids could take the buses to BOCES like they normally do, and then they would have classes taught by BARD professors, and they would graduate from high school with a couple of credits toward college, either at BARD or transferable to other places. So we're very excited about that. It's obviously a big growth area. So these are 2 important dates. The first is April 27th, which is the election. This is not only the vote on the budget, but it is also the vote on the board members for BOCES. And in the next slide, we're going to talk to you about that confusing election. But basically, we have 3 seats and 5 people running for those 3 seats. So we're excited about it. If you go back one more slide, I just want to remind you that the final service requests are due to BOCES on May 7th. And that's an important date for us because it is based on those service requests from all of our districts that we determine which classes make, which classes don't make, what programs we have to expand or reduce. So that's a big, important day. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the capital project. I know some of you heard my presentation at the Dutchess County School Boards a few months ago, and we have a lot more news, and it's much better news. So over spring break, we were able to do an incredible amount of work that we couldn't do while students were in the building, and we made great progress. And then I think you got a press release or some new information from us that the board approved a tender agreement with the performance bond surety to resume the excavation portion of the project. So after winter and a long delay, we now have excavators on the campus and they're going great guns, and we're very excited about the progress that they're making. So, and if we can just continue to have some nice weather, I think we'll, I'm not sure we're going to catch up. So I just want to be honest about that, but we're certainly making great progress. Matt, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that was well said. Just that we're, delighted to have the new excavator on and the performance bond step in. So we will get all that work done for the original price that was awarded.
So these are the 5 board members that are 5 people who are running for the board at BOCES. The 3 middle ones, Richard Keller Coffey, Ed McCormick, and Rob Rubin, are the current sitting board members who are running for their same seats. Marie Johnson is a sitting board member at Wappingers, and Karen Smythe is a resident of Red Hook who is running for the BOCES board. So people are very anxious about this because there are 2 candidates running from Wappingers. But we actually think what will happen is you will send to Nancy the day after your vote the top 3 vote getters from your school district, and she'll compile all of that and we'll move forward with that information. So it's kind of unlikely that you would have 2 from Wappingers win, but because we can only have 1 from Wappingers on the board, we'd have to have a runoff of those 2 people if that were to occur. But basically all you're doing is sending us your top 3 vote getters. Okay, and I'm sure you have that well in hand.
Okay. And just, once again, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. And if there's something that you think of after the presentation that you wish you have asked, just please send it off in an email to me or give me a call.
And likewise, Laura and I meet every Wednesday along with all the other superintendents. If you have a question, send it to Laura. Laura will get it to me, and I'll respond as promptly as I can.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say thank you to Rich for working with us as a district. And I go back to years being principal at John Jay and Haldane, but you've done a lot for BOCES, Rich, and a lot for the kids for programs. And I really appreciate that as an educator and as a former principal. So thank you very much for your time. And I think you've done a really good job in working with us as districts. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
We appreciate your time. Have a great evening and a good
Good night,
meeting.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
Good night.
Take care, Matt. Thanks.
All right. The next item is just, a summary of what the vote is going to look like. I wanted to make sure that people know how and when and where and all those good things. So, Cheryl, do you want to just take us through that?
Yep, sure. Brian, would you share that image for me? I asked Mr. Barnes to do a drawing for me so I didn't have to try to explain it and mess that up. So normally we're down on the stage, but because we don't want to have a lot of people in the building at the same time, we decided it was best to do it right in the lobby where you come in the doors downstairs at the top of the auditorium. So people will come in counterclockwise, and our tables will be set up right there. You'll come in for your registration verification, and we'll verify that before they go to the tables to get the ballot, which normally the ladies when you're getting your ballot, they check you for registration. We're going to do that ahead of time so that nobody has to go backwards in the line. So we're going to make sure we have a nice flow that goes through. We'll have an art separator so that the people coming in and the people leaving are separated. They won't even see each other. So you'll come in, you register, you'll get your ballot, you'll go through the doors into the auditorium, and there's that very top landing, and that's where our voting booths will be. So you'll come in the door, and depending on where you fall in the alphabet, you're going to go to your place, and then once you're done, you're just going to exit out of the building. So what we're going to do is every voter will have their own pen. Mask will be required, of course. We don't want to worry about wiping down pens after people use them. So I'm just getting enough pens, hopefully for everybody. And then between every voter, someone will be wiping down the booth. So nobody has to worry about that. So I'm hoping that this will make everything really easy and clean. And people won't have to feel stressed out about coming to the vote. So it's really going to be like our primaries, where there was a flow. So we'll have someone at the door to let people in so that we don't have a crowd waiting at a table. So, hopefully we just keep the line moving. And I think that's about everything. I have enough people so that we can switch out. So if our workers need a mask break, or they need their dinner break or lunch break, depending how long they're with us for the day, we're going to be able to switch people out if they just need to get outside and get some air. And then if somebody comes to work for us and decides it's just too many people, we should have enough so that we have coverage for that kind of a situation if it happens. So I think that is really basically it, unless anybody's thinking of something that I didn't mention. But if you have questions, I can certainly answer them.
Any questions from anybody on the board? Or anybody? Okay. Very good, Cheryl. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, what's next? Okay, next we'll move to the President and Vice President's report. Will be just a couple of things. We'll be moving the Millbrook Central School District Media YouTube channel on April 27th, so that we're not using a private or personal YouTube channel. The new link will be on the website, so just go there or go to board docs to use that. I did want to ask, we have not, as far as I know, Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, we have not received an executive order to extend these virtual meetings. So I wanted to get, it's going to be a difficult thing, for those that are not comfortable with being face-to-face yet. But we need to get that straight. We've had Cheryl and Elliot have been looking into technical details. I just wanted to get the board's opinion on if anybody has a real issue with doing it once you've heard about it. But I don't think we're going to have much choice unless we can still, you can be remote, but my understanding is we'd be back to publishing our addresses as places where the meeting would take place. So,
Correct.
Cheryl, Elliot, you want to give us a quick rundown on how we might be able to make this work?
Certainly. So in brief, the MEF was kind enough to donate to us the funds to procure 4 OWL devices. The OWL is a multi-directional web conferencing camera and microphone unit. Looks like a little owl, like a caster. But what it affords us is It's a smart camera, so it follows the speaker, and it also provides a constant panoramic view of the board. So it would fulfill all of our legal requirements when the board is taking a vote or whatever, because every board member would be visible at all times across the header of the screen. And then as people are speaking, if it's one person speaking, it focuses on the one. If there's people having a dialogue or a multi-person conversation, the camera will actually split its angles up and show as many people in the frame as possible. So our first thought is to have this this device centered in the room for the board to meet. We can set up a podium with a laptop or a Chromebook as sort of a public participation portal, if you will. We could also discuss whether or not our administrators and other members or other staff members would be presenting from that point or from their own devices in the room. So little kinks to work out, but certainly a much more feasible solution now that we have the new owls in place. So thank you again, public thank you to the MEF for providing these devices. They are amazing. We've conducted administrative meetings by splitting our own team in half so that we had 4 people in the room and 4 people remote. And I would say it worked. It took a little getting used to, but you know, Brian and I having conversations across the room on a split screen as it followed us, and then Laura would chime in and it would split to the 3 of us. It was pretty cool to watch. So I think the board would be interested in seeing that in play, and certainly we can test drive it a couple of times before we go live, just to make sure it'll accommodate all of the people in the room. So we're figuring on about 12 to 14 folks. If all the board members are present, then everybody in the room would be in the view. And if we had anybody remote for any reason, they would just join the Zoom similar to what we have today. So what you might see in effect would be like, let's use tonight as an example. You might have the 7 board members and the 5 of us administrators that are present in that owl image. And then Mr. Metzger and Dr. Hooley would have been looped in via Zoom. We would record the meeting through Zoom and transmit to YouTube the same way we're doing right now. So the end user at home would experience no difference. The podium would be set up as, you know, Millbrook CSD Board of Ed meeting, you know, podium or visitor or whatever we call it. And we would just activate that as people step up to the mic. And certainly I would be present to help. And Cheryl's has so much experience with this platform. I don't think she'd have any issues getting that done for us. And we've worked through it as a team. So that's the long and short of it.
Very good. So what I'd like to know, and I mean, privately from board members, if your the plan is to make sure that we have the 6 feet of distancing, that we, you know, that we figure out that we're wearing our masks, that we're all those things. But outside of, you know, this meeting, if you have an issue with face-to-face, I believe when does the thing expire, Cheryl? The 25th or 27th? Are you muted, Cheryl?
Sorry. I sent an email to Margot to, I thought it was the 20th, actually. I thought it was tonight that we would be finding out. So I have an email to her to find out if we've had any word yet. So I'll email all of you as soon as we hear anything. I anticipate it's going to be extended, but you know, eventually we're going to run out.
Yeah,
Hey, Perry,
I mean,
just out of curiosity, is it just the board members that have to give out their address for the meeting, or is that administration as well?
I don't honestly know, Chris. I think
I was just curious.
I thought it was just the board, but and it's not just giving out your address. My understanding was that if you're going to tie into a board meeting from your house, you have to allow members of the public to come to your house and attend the board meeting there.
I only asked if it really only needs to be 7 of us in the room, not the 12 to 14. That's the only reason I asked.
Right.
But it makes no difference.
Yeah, no,
Board members only, Chris, because it's a board meeting, which means everybody else who speaks is actually invited to speak. So it's only the 7 board members that need to, if they're not present and wanted to come in on a virtual platform, that need to list their addresses. So you're right. Yeah, everybody else does not physically need to be in there, but we're open to the public. And you know, I feel it, if we're going to be open to the public and the public can come in, then as long as there's room, we should have our some of our chief executive staff there.
Yeah, when Margot replies, we should get, some specifics on, does it mean that, we just have to open the auditorium up to the public? Do we have to have them come in one at a time? I mean, honestly, I don't know, and I'm not sure they know. It'll probably be guidance, and then we'll have to figure it out ourselves. But if we can get the opinion of the lawyer, that would be helpful. All right, and like I said, if anybody on the board has a real issue, whether it's whatever it is, please let me know. But we'll do it privately. All right. Howard, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything tonight, Harry.
Okay. All right. Why don't we go to the superintendent's report?
Good evening, Millbrook. Nice to see you all. Thanks for being here. My main highlight is just full-time in-person learning. We still have our students at remote, and that's a choice that families made until the end of the year. But now we're seeing lots and lots of smiling faces in our hallways, and it's very exciting. So this is the second phase of our phase 3 of our reentry plan. So this week we have our secondary students here, and Steve is here just to sort of give us some highlights. Steve?
Yeah, so absolutely. We're very excited on Monday to welcome in our secondary students. We got our kinks out in the first few days there of just transporting kids in the building and accurately walking them in and checking off who we have entering the building at all times for both safety, general safety precautions, but also COVID-related safety precautions. I got to just say it's been an absolutely monumental effort of every single constituency that we have in our buildings. I cannot say enough about transportation. I can't say enough about our custodial staff. I can't say enough about our teachers, our aides, just nursing, everybody across the board. The kids are coming in with big smiles and they're excited to be there. We've just seen so many people coming together, working so hard to get, students back in the swing of things and back in the classroom. Some of the things that obviously look a little bit different is we're able to put a few more desks in the rooms and in the cafeterias and places like that. And it's just been really wonderful to just get that student energy back in the building. And like I said, I think already by today, Tuesday, all kids were in the building, on time, getting through the hallways, masks on, a lot of hand sanitizing going on and doing all those great things. But we're back to business as usual. And it's just been a total team effort. Like I said, at the middle school, I got to particularly call out our food service folks too. Because as many people know, we're up in the gymnasium and that's been a monumental effort to make sure that we can be up there and ensure that we're not only spacing, but getting kids, not just, the minimums. And that's been the really big thing here at Millbrook that I really want to bring light to. We get all these recommendations, these suggestions, whether it be in the food prep, whether it be in sanitization, whether it be all of those things. And at Millbrook, we never do the minimums. We're always going above and beyond. I mean, we have custodial staff that are constantly, I was walking around with BOCES today, actually. And the gentleman from BOCES that was coming around just to see what we've been up to, commented on the fact that he was seeing a custodial staff member walking around, cleaning off all the high touch areas. And he actually said to me, how does this guy make it around everywhere? I've seen him 4 or 5 different times in 4 or 5 different areas. And when we went up to the makeshift cafeteria that we have right now in the gymnasium, he's like, wow, you don't just have standard, bag lunch that's individually wrapped. We have all of that, but we also have our snacks, our extra little things that, our kids are known to love and want to be a part of. So it's, like I said, I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out. Our administrative team has been fantastic. Not me, but everybody else has been really good. But just seriously, it's been a monumental effort by everybody. And it's just been great to see the kids with big smiles, I'm sure, underneath those masks as they get back into the swing of things. So it's just been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. You encapsulated everything that was in my thoughts and my heart. Has been wonderful days of past week and this week. And I know it's been a long journey for all of us, for the board, the community, staff, parents, administration, but it's all worth it when you're walking the halls and there's a flurry of activity once again. It's like now we know we did the right thing. We worked hard and we made it happen. So Millbrook strong, absolutely. Blazers are back.
Laura, I do have a question
Sure.
for you. Are the playgrounds and our track, are they reopened to the community yet?
So soon, our signs, Brian, do you want to give us an update on our signs? If they've arrived and when they will be posted?
Yeah, sure. So the signs were ordered. There was a miscommunication with the vendor. They're thinking that it was a temporary sign, so they were creating it on a corrugated plastic. So we're hoping to be able to have the metal signs, and they're going to be on our playgrounds and up top, and then we're going to be opening it up to. So those signs are going to be kind of, they're liability based, they're safety based for sure, requiring the masks and the social distancing and reminding people when the fields are actually open for use. And we're just excited to get this open for our students and our community and our taxpayers to be able to use. So I would say that we would have the signs in place. Today is Tuesday. I would say the goal would be by the end of the week.
Okay.
So Laura, does are the basketball hoops going to be put back up at that time too?
We haven't spoken about the basketball courts yet.
Like over at Elm and up, that they've been taken down. Are there any plans of them going back up?
Did you have any conversations with Mike Ragusa, Brian? And I don't even know go ahead.
Yeah, so we were thinking about it in terms of playgrounds. So Claudia, the thing about the basketball is just that remains the high risk sport. So we just have some more discussions to have here, but it's playground equipment. So we just need to be able to have more administrative discussion about that. But we want our folks to be able to use our stuff. So that's kind of first and foremost in our minds for sure.
So wait, so when the signs come up, that's when the hoops are going to go up, or you're still not in decision?
No, we still have discussion around that. That needs to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, the signs will be on the sports complex and the playgrounds. And like Brian said, the basketball is still high risk. I know in Elm, the little ones are socially distanced and they're throwing the ball and feel like that's okay right now. But we have to get more guidance on if our older students are going to play basketball.
I thought didn't we have the guidance that, we approved basketball a month or two ago?
As a high risk sport.
Right, but we approved it. So is outside more risky than inside?
No, the only issue with it, so the board approved it from an organized interscholastic sport perspective. And the reason why at least I'll speak for myself, the reason why I'm being tentative about it is because we just really haven't had those conversations around it. So we don't want to just shoot from the hip and say, yes, we're definitely going to open them. We just want to think about it and give you a measured and diligent answer, not just say yes because we're excited to do it.
All right. Do you have anything else, Laura?
No, that was it. The highlight in person, full time, Blazers back.
I have a comment.
Good.
Well, thanks everybody for opening our school. That's great with this phase. I was concerned. The CDC has this thing about guidelines, and it's based on community transmission rates. And I went out the CDC site, and it has Dutchess County as a high risk. So we're fully complying with high risk community spread, correct, with the guidelines? I think it affects the secondary schools a little more than the elementary. I don't think elementary is affected at all.
So we're in close contact with our local Department of Health, and that's really who we have conversations with.
Yep.
And last week we spoke with them going, how will we know when we're at the high risk? And they said they will know. They monitor closely. They monitor every day, and they would be in contact with us to tell us that we're at risk and we need to come up with a plan of action.
Yeah, you may want to reach out to the School Board Association. They put together a they had lawyers work on it too with sort of a their consensus feeling about what the guidelines and in New York State Department of Health also. So I just followed the link to where they said you should go look, and I was kind of surprised. So you want to check into that.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Okay, next is approved Proposition 1. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I mean, we've spent a good deal of time going through this in detail, but there's, if there's any questions or concerns, please, let's go through them. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
Harry, I don't know if it's no, it's not against. I just had a question. It's okay. Never mind. Never mind.
Okay. Okay, very good. And for Proposition 2, just to make sure one more time that that it's well explained to anyone that's listening. This is not adding $6 million into an account. This is making the account capable of holding $10 million versus the 4 it can hold now, so that, for whatever reason, we can sort of save money and eventually take care of some of the capital needs of the district without impacting voters at that point. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Well,
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, what wasn't the last referendum for 6 million? The resolution there, it says support dates back to an earlier one, 4 million.
Oh yeah. Originally I saw this and it said it was 4, then 6.
So I think
And
that's
is
kind of
this resolution not correct?
So this resolution is not correct. It
I
should
don't
be.
know. I messed
it is.
Oh, no.
Your
This
increase.
says to increase it by 4 million.
Oh, I'm
John,
sorry,
not
by,
from 4.
which was established in 2012. Okay, 2012, is that correct? That's quite a few years ago. I thought it was earlier than that.
I thought it was late. I mean,
Yes.
Later than that.
Later.
Later than
Yeah.
that.
It was only several.
Yeah, I
was
think
on the
we've
board, so
we've got maybe 2012 was when it went to 4 million.
Yeah, I
But
think
The
the
it's
6
original
million.
establishment.
What's that?
That was the original establishment of that reserve.
Oh, I see. It's to,
Okay, so we just I guess.
okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's when it's first established. Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments, concerns? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any against? Very good. All right, third one is this property tax report card that, where is it? There we go. It's an annual requirement to be approved each year as part of the budget and reporting process. Basically, it's a property tax report card. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Gee, you're not even letting me wait to do this. Okay, any questions or comments, concerns? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. All right. Man. We have do I have a motion to accept the letter of resignation for retirement? From
So
Roseanne?
moved. So
Do I have a
moved.
second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or concerns, comments?
Just do we have a replacement? Like, is this the nurse that's leaving and we have someone coming back in? Oh my God, I'm sorry if you can hear that.
They're interviewing right now for a leave replacement. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, and this is effective June 30th. Okay. All right, any other comments or questions? I'd like to, as we move forward, make sure we're kept up to date on how this is going. The search, I mean. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. Wants and warrants. Hopefully all had a chance to dig through. I'm getting excited, John. Do I have a motion?
So
I'll make-
moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Either or.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay.
Harry, if it's okay with you during the discussion portion, could I just give some information about the cafeteria fund? Or would you prefer it at a different time?
During the which period?
Now, during the discussion period.
Okay, yeah.
That
I
work?
mean, yep.
Okay, so we separated out the cafeteria financials for you, so we can have an opportunity to see that separate, so you don't have to dig through all the financials to be able to see it. So you should have been able to see that separately. And under separate cover, I'm going to share a document with you just so you're able to see it. So the cafeteria subcommittee is going to be in the process of creating different ways of being able to show you the financials in a more understandable and readable form. That'll be our primary agenda item at our next meeting. But this document, what I did was I created for you as a resource document. So this is the March financials. You'll see that there's January, February, and March. And what I did here was you actually have the opportunity, and I'll send it to you. You can hover over and it explains exactly what that line item is. And it gives you an opportunity to follow the entirety of the financials all the way down to where you see here that we're actually have a net gain of $35,000 at this point, which is terribly exciting. But this is a resource document for you. And just so you can refer back to it at any time that you'd like, where it gets confusing, but just know that this is an interim measure. This isn't meant to, we're not going to stick only with this. We're going to give you other tools as well to be able to look at the cafeteria financials in different ways.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Brian, because when you look at it in board docs,
yep,
I don't see it expanding when you do the flyovers.
Yeah, you did not get this version in board docs. I'm going to.
Oh, all right. I thought it was the Jan-March one at the end.
Yep, and it is through March here, but the annotated version you don't have.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I hope that'll be helpful. And then when we reconvene the cafeteria subcommittee, we'll look at other ways as well.
All right, very good.
Right, Brian, can I ask a question? Sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I know a while ago we talked about the staff, the cafeteria staff that work there and the hourly wage that they're getting. And anybody, you know, with the increase in minimum wage and so on and so forth. So what's happened? I didn't get a follow-up. What's happening with the new hires that come in as compared to the people that have been there for a while? And also with that being said, I don't know if this is the right spot to ask for it, but now that we're back in session full time, how is the cafeteria being staffed? You know, is it one person in there? Is it two? Are we back to full? And so on.
Sure. So thanks for the question and thanks for the continued discussion around that, because we did start to have conversations with Mr. Rudy and Superintendent, and at that very last cafeteria subcommittee meeting. So we're going to finalize a recommendation at the following, at the very next meeting, and we will be bringing to the board a recommendation around salary. So those conversations have already started, and we just haven't completed them just because we wanted to be able to have full membership at the meeting in order to be able to do that. But there'll be a recommendation forthcoming about that. So thanks for keeping that on the radar. In addition, about staffing, right now, our staffing at the cafeteria, I would say, is challenged in that we have one person that's out and is scheduled to return sometime this week, but they've been out for approximately 8 days thus far, I believe. We're going to get there's another one that's ready to be appointed. Staffing is different depending on which building we're in, but primarily most amount of prep work is happening at the middle school. And at the high school, there's only one person working there, but we're also only serving about 40 to 50 meals in the entire day as of thus far. So our cafeteria manager is perfectly comfortable with that setup because we're talking about 14, 15 meals each lunch period. So by contrast, we're doing about 200 meals here in the middle school with 3 people. So she's very comfortable with that staffing as of right now. But we would like to be able to get more staff because the cafeteria workers are working terribly hard, being able to get everything all out and packaged. And now with the hot lunches and Holly and her staff have started a la carte again. So exciting because it was a request that and it's an additional revenue as well for the food service program, but it does take a lot of work to pull that off. So we're hoping to have more staff, but right now we're doing as best as we can.
So Brian, if they're doing a la carte, then don't they need 2 people to do that? Because if there's one person serving the food, how is the other person handling money or handing out things a la carte? Or is it one person's able to go up and down the line?
Yeah, so let's take the high school as an example. So a lot of that work is already happening in terms of preparation. So it's just about reheating and packaging and putting it out. And then oftentimes, and we've done this at the elementary buildings for years, a lot of the a la carte stuff that remains at the register, and they just pick out what they want, and they get rung up. So cafeteria managers is very comfortable that that's doable for right now, and to the extent that we have a significant increase in participation, then we're going to have to look at more staff.
So there is a person at a register, and then there's a person serving the food, or is it one person altogether?
There's one person. Yep.
And just out of curiosity, how many people were pre-COVID that worked in the cafeterias to what they are now?
I'd have to get you that information separately. Right now in this building, we have 1, 2, there's either 4 or 5, depending on the day in this building, but in this building is the middle school. Again, keep in mind that all the prep work is happening and then food is being couriered over. There is 1 person at the high school, but again, don't forget, we have about half the number of students actually in the building right now, and only 40 meals being served. So there's 1 instead of 2 or 3, depending on the day at the high school. And at the elementary levels, there's 2 at Alden, and 1 or 2 at the at Elm, depending on the day.
I just want to make sure that the people that are working, I mean, these guys have been working nonstop since day one, and I don't want to see anybody get burned out at all, because that's the last thing we need is somebody to, then what are we going to do? If we're short staffed already, what are we going to do? So if we could really seriously look into getting them more help, that would be, I'm sure they would be greatly appreciated, and I would appreciate it for them, for all the hard work that they do. So I think we need to look into that.
All good cautions, and thank you. And I know there's 1 sub being brought on tomorrow, I believe.
And I'm just curious as to why so few in the high school. But we don't need that. I mean, this is really about the fun. This is not to discuss, attendance and stuff like that. But I mean, I thought we were gonna, by bringing them all back in full time, we would get, the majority of the kids. But we'll take that offline. Okay. Any other questions on the wants and warrants, or reports and reports and warrants? I'm watching too many cop shows. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any against? Okay. This is the part, John, I'm like all excited now.
Okay.
First reading of the 0 policy, or 4 zeros. John, did you want to just, say anything about each one, or I'm assuming people have.
Yeah, I'll start off with hallelujah.
Yeah. And John, I before you go on, I know I busted your chops about these, but man, you have been on this relentlessly. So I thank you very much.
It's a tremendous amount of work. So at a future meeting, hopefully there'll be some more policies coming. I want to detail all the people involved. And you can't believe how many people have been involved, because when you go over 12 years, you can get a lot of people involved. So these are the first 4 series of 10, and we've been able to bring this to this spot. We've met many superintendents, many clerks, board, and board members have worked on this thing, and it's evolved, because as you're trying to, you get one set done, you move on to another set, and there's changes coming out for the first set that you thought you were done with, because because there's updates in the world that always happens, from medical devices to pandemics to you name it. I mean, school law, all kinds of things. Homeless, it's on and on and on. Things change. So our last major update was 1995. We have had some updates along the time, the road for sure, but just not comprehensive. And so there's many things that are kind of missing over the years. So what will come about now, want to hear your concerns about anything here. There are policies that will be sunset. There are lots of new policies. What will happen next is when and if the board approves this, is it will go to NISBA, and it will get ready for publishing on our website. No, actually, not our website. I'm sorry. It'll be linked to a website. Cheryl, maybe you want to throw a few comments about that?
Yep.
And also, we'll be able to use or avail ourselves of board docs for drafting new policies and kind of having a nice place to put it instead of sitting on a local disk.
Yep. So it's pretty exciting that so right now, actually, Board Docs is working with me to get all of our old policies, the entire whole book. For those of you who know our book, it's pretty big. They're getting all of that downloaded into Board Docs for me. And then they'll give me some training. And then once these policies are approved and those old policies are in Board Docs, the old ones will retire and we'll have our new ones, but we won't lose our history. So I'm really excited, and it'll be really easy for people to find our policies on board docs. For all of you, it'll be really easy. Everything will be organized right in board docs. So, and as we're, not right now, we're not ready to do it, but in the future, as we get more of the policies approved, as we're actually doing it and I'm in board docs, we'll see the changes happening. So it's really good stuff and I'm excited about it. So, and thank you for all your work, John.
I want to thank everybody for the work. I also want to say that there are some new things in these policies, or perhaps, well, I've got a list, believe it or not, spreadsheet with the various new things in there that we need to do. Could be board, could be superintendent, could be principal, could be, so there's things to do. Like when there's things stating in regulations needed, well, we need to get our regulations sooner or later.
Yeah.
So we need to follow what we're putting in practice.
So did you do audiobook versions of these, John?
Yes, for units, $100.
Oh man, this is, I have no idea how happy I am. This is like great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So I would love to be able to finish this thing, you know, but I don't think that's going to happen by the end of the year. So the board will be left with what it's left with.
All right. So anybody, is there any comment on
Sure.
on any of these first four?
I think John Rudy should invite all past participants, if they're all alive, back at the end of the, process here, especially Tom Lemkiel.
You didn't need to add the if they're still alive.
Process started a long time ago, right?
Yeah, really a long time ago.
Look at his beard. Look at John's beard. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you started this with that little bird from the Flintstones chipping on the stone tablets. All right. So any comments? This is just the first reading, but
there's a lot there.
Yeah. And that spreadsheet, John, can you send that?
Yes.
Or put it someplace that we can get to it?
Yeah.
That would be good.
The committee will meet again. I'll be bringing that up about what folks want to do with this information, where to put it, and what kind of things they got to start being aware of, including the board.
Yep, very good.
And we may need to add some things to our tickler file also that we're required to do.
Okay. All right. So we have the first reading of 0000. Does anybody have any comments, questions? First reading of 1000. Any questions, comments, concerns? First reading of 2000. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Or 3000. Is there any comments, questions, concerns during the first reading? All right. Very good. All right. So next on the agenda is to accept the donation with thanks and gratitude from IBM for $500. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you, IBM.
Thank you.
Very cool. Anything else? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. The next one is to donation from New York State Insurance Reciprocal. A donation of $1,000. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Comments, questions, concerns?
Thank you. New York
Thank you.
State Insurance Reciprocal.
Thank you very much.
Very cool. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any against? Very good. All right. Next is the questions from the public. Just so that we're clear, questions from the public come in really two formats. One is, just a question in general. These really should be answered by the administration if they're not part of the agenda. Should be answered by the administration separately. And then if there's still an issue or whatever, we need to put it on the agenda. So are there any questions related to the agenda, Cheryl?
No, there's not.
Okay. All right. Are there questions to address separately?
Yes, we have 3 questions that will go out to the administration.
Okay. All right. Very good. And then if need be, we'll put it on the agenda as something to go over in the future.
Yep.
Are we
All
able
right.
to see those questions, or is it just for admin? It'll go to all of us?
You can send it to everybody. Yep.
Yeah,
You're
it should.
okay. Sure.
All right. Board facilities report. Anything up new, Claudia?
We had, fill in here, Brian, but we had, because of that last call there, we had a meeting, 2 weeks ago, approximately. And we talked a lot about the gazebo. And we're back at that, Perry. We're right back there.
Jesus, I can't get rid of that thing.
The gazebo, the tennis court area, and so on. So this Friday, we are having a meeting with the mayor to discuss the gazebo.
Okay. Yeah, we should probably, we can take it offline, but once we talk to Tim, then we'll figure out, if there are other interested parties that, want to see it stay, want to see it preserved. Because we really need to get this. You guys have been working hard to try to figure this out, but we need to get this off our I don't know, off our backs, I guess. All right. Anything else, Claudia?
Brian, go ahead. Was there anything?
Sure. So we just gave a current project update, and we're really all the way, at this point, all the way done with our 2 electrical projects. The only thing left is the billing and the payment of all the bills and the final cost reporting to the state. So we're very excited about that. We had a great partner in our as a contractor. They did a great job, and Mike did a heck of a job seeing this through. So. Claudia talked about the gazebo. The architects are, it was a little bit of a delay. I was a little frustrated, if I'm being honest. I thought that we were going to be sending everything up to the state education department last week. There was an additional delay regarding some paperwork. So that's going to happen by the end of this week, I was assured. We talked a little bit about energy. We talked about the fact that we've joined NYSERDA and enlisting their help with benchmarking, and we provide them with all of our energy usage and the bills that we pay, and we get a benchmarking report, and we know that we use entirely too much energy, and we want to be able to get off of fossil fuels, and we want to be able to investigate some of the more sustainable energies, whether it be geothermal, whether it be solar, whether it be wind. So we're enlisting help with that. Our president, Hartswick, gave us some information about a seminar that he saw that we attended. And we have a little bit more information to get about from there. It's called the New York Stretch. Right now, it's seeming like it might not be quite as applicable to us, but we're going to see where maybe it can be. We also had a lighting assessment done. There was a 28% grant. Right now there was a limited scope project that we did have scoped out and found out that we can do about $19,000 worth of work, $26,000 worth of work for about $19,000. And we decided at the facilities committee that maybe it's smart to actually have them do an assessment for us for the entire district and not just the limited area. And that was just kind of the common hallways, auditoriums, and cafeterias. So we're looking into that, and that, Chris, Claudia, do you think that covers it?
Yeah, that pretty much covered everything, Brian.
Great.
Yep, that was it.
And you got to have the athletic fields open by the end of the week.
That's definitely the goal.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Let's see. Board goals subcommittee. Have you guys met since the last time? I'll take it in. Yeah.
Laura, why don't you say something?
We did meet. We met on Monday. We met with Gabby from Ed Elements, who's been working with us in trying to define the process and the structure. We're using the survey of the board to inform district goals. And I think our next step, we're going to meet again, John, Chris, Paul, Gabby, and myself next Monday to figure out how we're going to drill down. We have very broad possibilities and we need more information and probably crafting more targeted questions so that we can figure out exactly what the board and hope, and maybe later on, including the stakeholders in sort of defining pillars, such as if we said communication, what exactly are we saying? We say communication is a weakness or we need to improve communication. So what does that mean to the board? What does that mean to our families? What does that mean to our staff and our teachers? And so once we have determined those broader pillars, then we're going to reach out and drill down on them a little bit more so that we can inform our own building and administrative goal setting. Did I say that? Did I capture that?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Food service committee. I think we
basically covered, although I do have one thing to say. Brian, if you were holding other discussions on pay for food service workers and I guess tiers of salaries for the next meeting, why didn't you tell me that that's what was holding us up, and we would have made sure we would have scheduled something. And you're muted.
Yeah, I just unmuted. I think maybe best that we talk offline and we can, I don't know if you had a date that you wanted to schedule the next one at or for.
Well, if that's one of the if that's one of the things that are holding up, pay and hiring people, then yes, we will. I'll get on it and I'll get you some dates. But again, I was unaware that there was something of expedience that was holding up that needed to be done.
I don't think there's anything that's super compelling that we're waiting on. I think it was assumed that we were meeting again because the board at the last meeting.
Thank you for giving your suggestion.
Hey, folks, there's somebody's
hearing something.
Got a second call or something on.
I think at the last board meeting or the one before that where we last spoke, there were some things to discuss. So I assumed there was going to be a follow-up meeting.
All right, we'll make sure I'll get you a date by tomorrow and a couple of dates, and we'll try to set something up.
Yep.
All right. Board policy committee. John, do you have any updates?
No, nothing's going on.
All right. District data committee. Have you guys met since the last time?
Yeah, so we met a couple of weeks ago. We also had our consultant from BOCES that we've been working with on the district-wide data work that we've been doing. So we ran through some of that. We're still focused on trying to hone exactly what type of data the board would wish to see. So that's sort of the question that we've been looking to answer. We've gone through really kind of soup to nuts presentation to understand more deeply just the types of data that are collected and reported within the school district. And then looking at sort of the macro data that exists, the reporting data, looking at the internal assessment data. And really just at this point, we're still trying to answer the question, what type of data would the board like to see reported? And then the next question would be how frequently, like that kind of thing, to create a reporting structure. Because I think there's been many iterations of data. And so we're just looking to settle on like a focus for our data work.
I mean, personally, Claude, Caroline, to me, we should be able to have some form of report that says that where we can say, and it's probably twice a year, this is just me, not the board, but something that says, hey, you guys made this, like when we do, if we do pre-K or when we do pre-K, you did pre-K, here we are 6 months later, check the results versus the results a year ago. And see, you know, that the actions we're taking, you know, we brought all the kids back in. Did grades improve? Did we, you know what I mean? So something that says whenever we take an action, that it leads to the results we're looking for. And I don't know how you do that. I mean, that's where you guys have to sort of in this data committee figure out, because it's not just grades, right? It's not, well, you know, now the kids have 4 Bs and 2 As. It's things like attention and attendance and, you know, a report card by school, by grade that says, yeah, it's working or it's not. I mean, we saw what, you know, we did IB. It was brought in to advance the district and it didn't. But a lot of that had to come from word of mouth, I'll call it. So anyway, that's, to me, that's what I'd like to be able to get out of district data. I don't want to see, you know, how many kids use the hallway in Alden or something like that. It's more about we're taking actions and are they working?
Yeah, and I think in the past, there's been some versions of data reporting to the board that have been like summative, more of the 30,000 foot view of the district data.
Yeah.
There have been more of the formative data structures that we've put in place to really try and change the trajectory of success for students throughout the school year rather than waiting for the end of the school year. And right now we're just looking for clarity on like what the board would like to see, because I understand what you're saying, that we need to be looking at our programs as we're developing them and being able to, you know, review the successes and adjust if we need to. But that also would require lots of different types of data that would not necessarily consistently be tracked in alignment. So if we're constantly shifting every time we shift programs, it's not going to be comparable apples to apples either. So it's sort of like, what are we going to be working with to make sure that our programs are working? And then what is like a consistent data view that the board would like to see?
Well, and if we can see, you know, if we see in advance, or not in advance, but if we see something is suddenly not working, you know, then we should be able to take action on, hey, maybe we need to do this, or maybe we need to add a teacher in this area, or maybe whatever. You know, and it may not always be just pure academics, you know. Are the kids eating breakfast? Well, if not, you know, we're offering it. What's in the way? So an overall report card, and I know it's not going to be easy because it's not one source of data. It's going to have to be something almost like, you know, the kids report cards that, you know, pays attention, make good use of time, all those things, you know, rolled up or something. But that's where I think
feel like a little bit of that would then mean we need to determine like what metrics are we using to measure success? Like how do we determine that a program is successful or not? And what does success mean for the outcomes for our students? What specific outcomes will we look at in relationship to a particular program? Or like you're saying, like cafeteria purchasing, like, you know, something like that. Sure, we can measure how many, you know, meals are sold kind of thing. But then it's sort of like, well, so why? Like, are we getting like, subsidized meals, a la carte meals? Like, is one going up and one going down? Like, there's so many different things that we would be looking at in so many different areas that it's like, how are we measuring success in any one of these areas? And then what data do we have? Are we currently tracking it? Do we need to start tracking it? So until we have the, like, what do we want to hear about? It's hard to make sure that we have all the systems in place to be looking at the right metrics to measure success or the lack of success and growth.
And a lot of some of the biggest mistakes I've seen, at least in the industry, is trying to wait until you have everything. Waiting till you have all the data in place. You're waiting till you've got all the data's been cleansed. I think we need to figure out, and that hopefully that's what this data committee is working through, is what is available. What does it, run some reports. Does that tell us anything?
Mm-hmm.
And start to get, we made it day one, we're not going to be able to say, oh, we just ran the report and it says we need to put $50 over here and $70 over there. And, it's not going to come out that way. It's going to come out, here's the data that we have. We've got things like attendance. We've got, categories of data. We have things like lateness and the number of meals and the grades and the number of credits our kids are getting, and does a trend in those things. And this is where we need you guys to really tell us, does a trend in that mean anything? Or in Millbrook, if you go from a 95% to a 92%, doesn't really make any difference, because it's probably more a matter of we have such small classes. But that's where we need to, just, I think, just start taking a shot at what can we tell from what we have? What does it point to? And then, and then we can start to say, well, it doesn't point to anything. That's just garbage. Because I think there's probably going to be some of that too. But all right.
Yeah, and I think John and Claudia could tell you that we are we're collecting a tremendous amount of data. It's a matter of what specific data does the board want to see, and in like what format, measured how frequently, or reported how frequently. And I don't know if either one of them wants to speak to it, but we are using a tremendous amount of data to make instructional decisions.
I thought it was a great presentation that they gave. I mean, it showed what was her name? Was her name Victoria? What was her name?
Yeah, Victoria.
It was almost like I want to say a flow chart. Am I saying that right, Caroline? Like they would go from where they were from kindergarten, and it could go on and on through the year. So you could see each of the students and what they did, and from one teacher to the next, and where they progressed, where there was deficiencies, I guess you could say, or deficits, and where they needed the help. I mean, I thought it was like a report card for the child that they would have, right, Caroline? Am I saying this right? From kindergarten
like a portfolio.
Yes, I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was great. I guess we just need to narrow down how much we want, right? Is that what it?
Well,
really
I think what we're going to end up doing is probably in June, having this data team come in, present, what they know, what you guys know, what you've figured out, how it works. And then, we're going to have it as a working session to say, can you tell us this? Can you tell us math skills are improving or not? Can you tell us that I don't know. But it needs, my simple version is we need to be able to understand whether we're improving or not. And if we are, can we help that along? And if we're not, can we fix it?
Right.
So, okay.
It's just a complicated beast, and I'm not trying to come up with excuses, but if you think of a bunch of things, you think of COVID threw things off for quite a bit. I mean, I don't even think the state has coming out with a parent report card at all. As a result, it's going to throw a monkey wrench for us, certainly. But maybe if you think about a trend in education, what's a trend? It's got to be at least 3 years.
Yeah.
You can't have a trend 2 years. You can't have a trend 1 year,
Yeah.
So it takes time, and nothing seems to stay the same ever. You have teachers that could rotate. You have maybe a program changes slightly. Maybe there's new requirements for something. Our size, we used to be, over 100. Now we're down, 55, maybe 60 or 50 in some places. That's 2% right there. That's 2%.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean, if basically, if the data is not telling us anything, then
well, it's how to make. Well, it's good to ask the questions and see if it can answer. But
yeah,
the problem is that you could always, if there is a trend, there's probably reasons. There could be multiple reasons why. So, but it's not to excuse it. It's just it's difficult. It's probably difficult.
Yeah, and we're also looking at different measures of success, and like even for the standard specifically, so that we can triangulate the data and make sure that we're not just responding to one metric that may be flawed for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's that one day in May, or where a student takes a test, and we can react to that data and panic or rejoice, and without measuring it against other data sets, and being able to say confidently, like, yep, these students are able to do this, they are still working towards proficiency in this. If we don't have multiple data sets to be able to measure against, we might be reacting too soon, right? Inaccurately. And at the same time, if we have too many data sets, there might not be clarity in that. So, what do we value? What do we measure? And then accurately aligning those things to be able to look at, not just look across the line and say, well, how is Perry Hartswick doing? But being able to look at all third graders or all sixth graders and saying, how are they doing on these particular standards? Because that may be more telling in where we need to make instructional shifts to change the outcomes for groups of students as well.
I mean, the thing that we want to, that sort of, I think sort of triggered this whole thing was 5 or 6 years ago, one of the board members said, we were shown a whole bunch of data, and the statement was made, obviously the teachers in that grade aren't doing their job. And if you looked at, you could form that opinion. You could have formed that, the kids they were getting weren't ready. You could have formed a bunch of things. What we want to be able to do is see that and say, what should we do here? Is it, and get a comment. A lot, some of that was also school, building to building, but we need to make sure that we've got something. And I get your point, John. I mean, you can't just say, okay, the 8th grade this year, which was the 7th grade last year, isn't keeping up with the 8th grade from last year. Well, that doesn't really, one year a drop off doesn't make anything. But we should be able to, we've been talking about this for 5 or 6 years now, of getting something that says, are we trending in the right direction? And I get it, if you look at COVID, but you could also say, all right, well, COVID gave us the opportunity to be, to do fully remote. How bad, how much did it hurt or help? What happens? Should we waste our time with things like investments like, we're not doing snow days anyway. Please, parents don't fall off your chairs, but we're not going to do them. We're going to do remote. Is it really worth it? Is it going to do anything? So it hopefully what we can get out of this eventually is information we can discuss. You guys can say, look, it's obvious we need to make improvements here and here, but we're going to need money to do it. And I mean, that's really, pretty much what you come to us for, is we need to make these improvements. This is what it's going to take to do it. Do we have your approval to do that? And do it with not just, I think it'll work, but I think it'll work because here's some analysis we've done that says it should. All right.
And we have to build a data culture where it's not threatening to have conversations around data, even if we're highlighting something that maybe isn't working as well as we would intend, that it's really about pushing resources in that direction rather than any sort of punitive conversation. So that's a big piece of it too. And that's where, working on the micro level that we're working on with teachers that are really taking ownership of their own classroom data, that's extremely helpful in making those instructional decisions to be able to, change the success trajectory for, a classroom full of students and individual students as well. But then it's not about the I got you. Like we waited till the end of the school year, we have these state tests, and now it's, let's see how everyone did kind of thing. It's about being able to predict it because we know how our students are doing.
Right. And the only way to actually get anyone to believe that it's not about gotcha is to prove it, to make changes to programs and not, but okay.
I just want to say, what has me flustered a little bit is that in this day and age, 2021, you would think there would be some models out there by now, and for a small district like ourselves to take this on ourselves and try to reinvent a wheel or create a wheel of some sort, it just seems just unbelievable that one would have to do this. There should be, you would think by now, there would be some, we have million school kids in New York State. You think there would be something out there. I just got to believe there's something out there that some folks have done that we could use some ideas from without us having to sit there in a room and like let's do this all from scratch. Just as, and now I saw a very slick presentation 3 years ago by a vendor. It was pretty good. I also know that there was probably 5 years ago, I saw a presentation upstate where BOCES sometimes take leads and different BOCES take the leads and things. And there was an upstate above Lake George, I think it was, BOCES that was working on a dashboard for their boards. So I just got to believe there's somebody that's done some good thinking about that, kind of gets the juices flowing faster, than us sitting in, a room and what do we want to do? Yeah.
I mean, maybe we just start out with NISBA and see, get there, at least point us in the right direction.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe they can point us to some folks they've heard of. Yeah.
And there are programs like the Forecast 5 group. They have a it's called I'm totally gonna screw up which one it is, but they have an amazing program, but it comes with a very hefty price tag. And then it's, do you want to invest in that, or do you want to invest in the people that are going to change the data trajectory when we notice there is a problem? It's like, what is, the priority of investment kind of thing, if we're building this dashboard and creating it and doing the work on the ground, and then we're working at the same time to be able to change the outcomes. I don't know. I don't always know that investment, I mean, look, it would be phenomenal to do both, right? To be able to have that would be amazing, but that's a lot of money.
But at some point, I mean, I know there's ideas in your head that you want, you'd really love to just go, let's just do this. And I think the discussion with the board becomes much easier when you're able to say, I'm going on my, my understanding of the data and the issues and all this. Here's the analysis I've done that says, if we do X, Y, Z, we're going to move these kids forward. I can't tell you it's going to be 22.5% better or 9% better, but the kids are going to be able to compete more. They're going to be happier, whatever whatever it is. But we should take a look at it. I mean, maybe it does make sense, because I just feel like, our primary goal as the Board of Education is to make sure our kids are getting a good education.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't do that, like if we can't if we can't put that in terms people can see, or that we can see and see where we need to spend more money, or spend less here, spend more there. We're just going to be going with this. Well, why don't we try this? Anyway, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. All right, district safety, Paul.
Yeah, I did not attend the last meeting, Perry, so I wasn't available. So I didn't go to that. If Brian wants to mention anything, I know that they met, but I was not at the meeting.
Yeah, so we reviewed everything that we typically do in terms of the building principals had an opportunity to go over issues in their buildings and seek the advice of other folks. I don't have the agenda up right now to remember everything that we went over, but we did determine that our May meeting was going to consist of reviewing our district safety plan and making sure that we're in a good timeline for that. So it's up and approved and ready for the, I almost said ready for the reorganization, reorg meeting, but we don't finalize that up until we get the final SED memo if anything needs to be changed. But pending any changes, that document will be in final draft form by the end of that May meeting. Let's see. We had other people. Anybody else remembering what we did? Of course, we talked about our accident reports and our incident reports, and we reported on that. Yeah, if we go on to the next one, I'll be able to pull up the agenda and remember what was on that district safety team meeting.
All right, so the next one is the district technology committee. Now this is really there's two subcommittees. One is on the sort of security and infrastructure committee, and then there's the district technology committee. The district technology committee doesn't meet until tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow or the next day. To go over, the first meeting I thought was really good. A lot of discussion on what have we learned, what have we learned from this whole COVID thing that we can translate into advantages in the classroom, and what do we need to do that. Between this one and the other committee, we're going to be coming back to the board with sort of a two-part plan. There's the non-confidential, this is are the areas we're going to invest in, or we're recommending to invest. Then there's a confidential part that talks about the audits that we've done, what else needs to be done from a security standpoint. And like I said, I think the district technology committee is tomorrow. And I think the other one, I don't even remember the date. And then we'll be coming back to the board in May, Elliot.
I think we're going to meet as a tech committee. The public, the larger committee is going to meet tomorrow afternoon. We're going to have a May meeting, and then we'll be prepared to share the draft technology plan with the Board of Ed in public session in June. We'll also prepare a small presentation for the confidential safety and security portions, probably in the same meeting, similar to the other projects we've done.
Okay.
Perry, if the board would like, I do have the meeting minutes from that agenda. So I actually gave a tutorial of the Google Drive just so everybody understood how to access the resources that would be placed in the Google Drive. There were building updates that were given about drills, and it was suggested, and Mike Ragusa now is going to test out that 555 lockdown code to make sure that the strobe lighting system works, because there were some concerns about that. And it was also at that meeting that we also approved that pandemic plan. So that was vetted through the safety team before the board approved that. And we talked about the pandemic plan and what that entails. Again, the drill reporting by each individual building, and any concerns that any buildings may have had were brought to that meeting. We talked about threat assessment training and what Frank's schedule with each individual principal would be. We then just discussed some other health and safety plans. We encourage people to think about empowering others to make reports and to surface issues. We talked about the secure vestibules that are going to be built as the next part of the district capital projects. And then we just kind of, we talked about maybe having roundtable, some exercises and training at each building level. And Frank was going to be working with the individual principals at their request.
Okay, very good. All right, district.
Terry, before you move on, I do have one follow-up on that. I think maybe in a future either future agenda or future agenda item, probably, Elliot, you may want to meet with maybe an exec to go over actually start out in public, just to go over what we've done with the cameras, and just to show the public that not only is everything in place, but we are making sure everything is working. And then in exec, you can go over and answer any questions about anything that may need to be tweaked or anything else with us.
A great point, Howard. I could do that when we do the confidential update in June. We can just add that to both the public presentation for tech plan. It can also include a project update, a review, and then we can revisit that in the executive session. We can certainly incorporate that both ways.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
Elliot, thank you. I've been asking that for a while, so thank you.
Yep, no problem.
So, and district wellness, is that Matt?
That committee has not convened.
Okay. Well, all right. Dutchess County School Board, we haven't met since the last one on April 1st. But so the next one is May 4th, I think, the first Thursday of May. So I'll come back on that one. The enrollment report is there for your information, unless anybody has any comments or questions. Facilities report. All right. We're going to skip that for tonight. MEF, Chris?
Just to mark your calendars, on Saturday, June 5th, we are going to be moving forward with a variant of Taste of Millbrook. It'll be called Taste to Go, and they have posted some information on their Facebook page, but more information to come.
Very good. All right. Jen, the PTO report, anything?
Nothing for right now. Nope.
All right. My favorite part of the agenda, superintendent's mileage report. Nothing at this point. Suspension incident report. I don't know if anybody has any comments, but it's attached to the agenda. Any comments? All right. We've got a lot of stuff in the next, really in the next 2 months. But if there is something that we need to get on here, and put it on as an agenda item, that's not on here already, let me know. There's nothing to clarify. So we have Do we have a motion to enter executive session for discussions of matters leading to the discipline of a particular person?
Moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, Cheryl, send us away.